I'd like to call to order a regular board meeting, the West Valley School Board, November 13th, 2023. Citizens may comment on items appearing on the agenda when invited to participate during the agenda item by the board chair. Citizens may comment on items related to school district business not appearing on this agenda during the public comment portion of the meeting. Citizens, after identifying themselves, will proceed to make comments as briefly as the subject permits. Basic rules of decorum are in effect at all times. The chairperson may interrupt or terminate an individual statement when appropriate, including when statements are out of order, too lengthy, breach personal privacy rights, are abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or otherwise improper. The public should realize that this is a trustee business meeting conducted in a public forum. And I just might mention that if people want to speak, they identify themselves, and then we'll have a 3-minute limit on our presentations. Okay, should we stand and say the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We're going to mix up the agenda order a bit and have the student teacher presentation going first, so that we have kindergarten here. They're going to make a presentation.
Want us to first?
Yes, I think so.
Hi.
Hi.
So we thought we would talk a little bit about our writing program that we use in kindergarten. It started many years ago in this very library with Eliza, where we were talking about we need a common thread. We need common language, a common thread throughout the school. And everybody did a little something different for writing. You know, everybody had their own thing and just worked on it whenever they wanted. We didn't really have a set curriculum. And so we started with Lucy Calkins, which some of us loved. Most of us in kindergarten loved it, but not everybody in the school loved it. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of research and reading in order to implement it well. And that was kind of felt through all over the country. So there was a team of teachers in Washington State, like Washington School, who put together a very similar program that was a lot less wordy for teachers to implement. And so we had Nelia as our writing coach, and she is from Washington, so she had it in there and was able to get that curriculum for us. And then we implemented that curriculum. We have loved it in kindergarten. I remember we went to Lucy, I said, I feel like I used to teach writing good. And now I started doing this, and I feel like, wow, it really made a difference. And Lake Washington, I feel, is even better because it's more directed, I think. Because it's a curriculum written for teachers, by teachers, it's very user-friendly and easy to use. So that's kind of the background on it. And then we started out with the launching unit, which is really amazing that these 5-year-olds can do it, because they have to, first of all, figure out what a topic is, what that means, topic. And then they have to pick one all by themselves. And then they have to plan out how to write about their topic. And they have to put one idea on each page and words to match each picture on each page, but only one thing on that page. And they have to have multiple pages, and they have to plan it across their fingers, and that's their first book. And they do it. And it's really amazing. So we just got done with that unit, and we were able to share that with parents at parent-teacher conferences. And now we have started on the list of labels unit, which is the second unit. And it's fun for the kindergartners. That's when they The first one, it's a little challenging for them and they start out a little apprehensive, but, this one, they had that first one under their belt. They have book celebration, they feel proud, and they start in on their list of labels, which they're really thrilled with because they only have to write 1 and 2 words. So we started that unit. We've done some shared right labeling and some lists so far, and that's what these guys have shared.
Yeah, so through our trainings, we kind of learned to adapt shared writing to kind of start the units, which is where we work together. So we'll come up with topics as a class and share our ideas. So a lot of times it's school topics, you know, things about the hallway, things about recess, things like that, things that we all know and are familiar with, and we basically get the kids just copying and getting fluent at pencil on paper. And you know, we'll throw in some, here, you try that one on your own, but a lot of times it is just copy and practice before we move into letting them do it on their own. So also right now, this time of year, we're talking a lot about community helpers and how we can help one another, and talking about our great leaders. So for one of my shared writings, we just made a list of things we can do in the hallway. So we're gonna post these all over the school. They were just reminders for everybody on hallway behaviors. We thought that would be a good way to help the school as we were talking about being good community helpers. So here's just some examples of like what they came up with. And today we also talked about our president and the leaders of our country and stuff. So they kind of rolled with the stars and the red, white, and blue a little bit, but. So that was, again, it was a shared writing, but. You know, for me, I do a lot of shared writing as I'm teaching the lessons, and then as we get to the end, after I'm done kind of teaching all the lessons, I can say, now you go and do it. So we practice a lot together as we're learning the different parts of each unit. But I mean, and just from what they were doing when they came in September to doing this now is just incredible. You know, trying to get them to copy a word off the board, you know, first month of school is very, very challenging. So the fact that they're able to do this, even this was even a little bit trickier with no writing lines, no, you know, guidance on where to put things. So they had to space it all out on their own. So that was really cool. That's something that I looked at.
I have a few more shared right. So this started as share right, talking about what to do, what we need to get ready for recess. And then I told them at the very end. So these 3 we did together. You can see coat, boots, hat, and then at the very end they needed to sound it out or write it all on their own so they could choose the next. So this is gloves. And gloves to go with it. And
Should be spelled that way.
I know it's what I mean. It's so hard. Yeah. But we talk a lot about kids spelling and adult spelling, and we don't expect them to write like an adult. So write like you think, because some of them are so hesitant. Like, is this spelled right? Not worrying about that. So yeah. So here's another one. The coats, the boots, the hat, and mid-tan. And then here's the coats, boots, hat, and pants. But I do that. We talk a lot about like sound, hearing, listening to all the sounds that you hear in the word and just copy them.
Then I'm gonna share, my kids pick their own topic, and I wanted to show these 3 because of the different levels that the kids are at, but this list is for hockey. Things you need to play hockey, so this is his stick, skates, and H for helmet, which is really great. In fact, that they can even make a list just with pictures would be amazing, because they have to think of what would belong in that group. And then this friend did her dog, what she needs for her dog. Anybody? Collar, leash, and a bowl. And then this girl made her grocery list. It's amazing. Broccoli, apples, and strawberries. Kathleen has a good to share from.
Yeah, and these we're moving on from the shared right. The shared right we always do as the opener together, so they get the idea of what we're looking for. So then we branched off from those, and she had those, and these were a few of mine that I picked. This was how to make a fire in the woods. You need wood, flint, and steel. And rocks. I had to write steel because I had to ask him 3 times today. Wait, what was this one again? So I thought, oh, I better write it down. He was disgusted with me back then. I'm sorry. This was one boy's list of toys, a tractor, a 4-wheeler, and a boat. And then this was one girl's list of things you need for a birthday: cake, presents, and balloons. So we're having a lot of fun with this unit. I just wanted to show it. It's great.
Thank you very
much.
It was the last one that got stuck with Rowan water.
That was me, and this was Rowan's.
My nephew. Oh, yeah.
That was his.
Oh. It's kind of a wild.
Not in class. He's like a little angel.
Aaron likes to explain things too.
Yeah.
Time now.
Thank you. Now go on, it's for the consent agenda.
I saw that my name wasn't on the work session as an attendee.
Was it not on the work session? Let me pull that up. You're correct. Let me correct. I'll change that right now. Changes. Future work sessions will be recorded as well. So the first one we did not, but going forward, they will be.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of the bills.
So I guess my question for you would be, is like, how are you feeling about where we're at? I mean, because we can pour over these details and
Yeah, we're in a much better position. We're now current on all of our bills. And so, and there's more rigid cutoffs. So like I accepted bills up till Friday.
Mhm.
And then that was the cutoff for this list that you guys are reviewing right now. So all vendors have been paid.
are there areas that you feel like we need to watch moving forward?
We're actively watching 2 areas for cost containment. One is disposal costs, but those have been cut by about 33%. So there's a savings of over $6,000 a year based on some work that Phil Jackson was helping lead. The other one is on copies, color copies that we're working on a staged approach. We're trying to save 10 grand on those. There's a potential, there's an issue where teachers' computers are the default setting to print often goes to the color printer and the color, the drums, the color drums, and that costs us 12 cents a page versus 1 cent a page for black and white. So those are the 2 areas we're watching.
I will say yesterday when I drove by, there was somebody backed up to the garbage can, unload their garbage into the garbage can. I don't know if there's anything, like if we can post anything on there since we pay to empty that or?
Our contract calls for 2 pulls a week, and right now, what we downsized, we used to have 12 yards out there, we're down to 10 yards. So you notice there's a big one, it used to be 3 4-yard dumpsters, now we're down to a 4 and a 6. And Phil has a sign on the 4-yard if you go out there. He claims that that's addressing most of the issues.
Okay,
I've brought
I
that-
just noticed that yesterday when I was driving by.
Yeah, he says he's watching it. He can tell by the color of the bags, whether or not it's our trash or somebody else. And if we end up getting too full and having to call in an extra dump, I think then it's probably when we may have to talk about the next step, maybe video camp or something like that out there. Yeah.
Or a fence or something.
Yeah,
Maybe something.
blockade, something like that.
Those dumpster that's be locked with like a padlock or something.
Those are owned by Evergreen, so we're not really at liberty to modify those. Yeah. Plus the trucks, when they dump those, they rely on those flapping open for them. I asked about that, they said no. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered if they could take the padlock off nowadays.
Yeah, it's a good
Dump it
idea.
or something.
They're very much on efficiency during their dump schedules. They bill us for each one of those.
Well, I mean, even like Phil, you can take it off.
Oh, could he do
the night
that?
Before or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good idea. They're not. They've said no, so we could come back a little harder with that, but in general, it's not.
When they have to weld on.
Yeah.
They have to have that little attachments welded on and almost it's now they just stay constant.
Yeah, we talked about that, Mark.
As plastic, the top piece is plastic.
In general, I think we tend to look at like maybe a fence in front of it that we would lock, and then on collection day, we'd open that potentially. That was sort of the next step that we've talked about, so.
Just get one of those deer sprinklers.
I'll let you bring that up. As well.
Where the dumpsters located?
Good cut, you can see them straight out the window over here. So there's one recycling on the left and there are 2 disposal ones on the right.
Unfortunately, they're pretty handy for people that just.
Well, that'll be something to watch moving forward. I mean, I think it's just crazy how much it costs for
Yeah.
waste, but that 30%, I mean, that's pretty
It's
significant.
pretty
savings.
dramatic. We took one dumpster out away from the behind the kitchen. And that's mostly because we're washing trays rather than having, so it's good for the environment and for us. Taking that away, and then we've taken one dumpster out here and consolidated. And at that point, it's a fixed cost, because if somebody sneaks in and we're not increasing the number of times we're dumping, it doesn't increase as if now as we're getting the capacity reduced, and then that'll get highlighted is what'll happen. We'll see that.
So we're not paying tonnage or whatever anymore.
No, we're not
We're
paying
paying for the.
You're paying based on the size of the dumpster and the number of dumps you're picking per week. Now, we do get a solid waste bill from the dump in town on an annual basis. I just paid that. That's in the bills here. It's $5,500 for us to be able to take, for Evergreen to dump there for us. So that's in there.
And do they keep track of it then there? Does that fluctuate based on how?
That's a good question. I don't know the exact answer. I'm pretty sure Evergreen has to do weight in, weight out on their trucks, I think. I mean, but see, it's a
Multiple pickups though.
exactly, it's a combination of us. And so I think I can look into that stuff and,
Okay.
but I think it's just a usage fee. I don't think it's a pound, for us. So. Might be estimated pound.
I saw we were running a fundraiser for the phone system. It looks like that got picked up with a donation. You could tell us what-
Trying to figure out who it is.
Yeah, thank you.
That was. There was 5,400. Cat, you want to say?
I have my list.
Gotcha. Coming. Yep. So one of the bills was covered mostly through, you'll see that 5,400 was coded to donation, another 226 was coded to tech fund.
We were kind of hoping we did that. It gives some other businesses in the area the idea. And that was on the make. Well, besides the fact that the safety factor was important, but that's what we really felt to be an example. We'll see if that works.
Super.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, we have one guest who'd like to speak. Joel,
No, we have to.
sure.
So I haven't timed this, I just typed it out, so with the chairman's approval, it's 2 pages, it shouldn't take much longer than 3 minutes, if that's all right.
Okay, that's good.
So for all those that don't know me, I'm Joel Bartholomew, okay, I'm a patrol sergeant with the Kalispell Police Department. I've had kids coming to West Valley since 2006. This statement is not the opinion of the Kalispell Police Department or the city of Kalispell. First off, I want to thank the school board for volunteering their time to make sure our children's well-being comes first. I'm here to talk to you about a book called Ghost Boys, that was recently read aloud to the 8th grade class in English language arts. This book was not brought home by my student, and I do not know if it's in the library. I first heard about the book when my student came home and told me that a book that is being read aloud in class is making him uncomfortable. I wrote this out so I wouldn't get emotional. My student expounded by saying that it portrays police and me as a racist and a liar. I spoke with this teacher. The teacher took the time to hear my concerns and was pleasant to deal with. We ended our conversation essentially that we agree to disagree. My goal here today is to establish a process for vetting books and giving parents an opportunity to opt out of participation. And in cases where books where its sole intent is to damage relationships with trusted authorities, my goal would be to prevent it from being forced to read aloud at all. I'm certain teachers would not read a book that portrays all teachers as sexual predators, nor would I want my child to hear or read and feel unsafe around all teachers based on a select few's actions. The main character of the book in Ghost Boys is Jerome, a 7th grader that is navigating the many dangers of growing up in contemporary Chicago. The book portrays Jerome's home life as stable and loving, while outside the home in the 8 blocks between home and school, it is unsafe. It is unsafe because of the drug dealers and the threat of police who harass and profile Black people, especially men and boys. The book goes on to tell Jerome's story of how he is murdered by a police officer while playing with a toy gun after school in a park. After his death, Jerome's grandmother makes a comparison of Jerome's death to the death of Emmett Till. Emmett Till was lynched in Mississippi in 1950, or in the 1950s. The comparison is that white cops and lynch mobs are both prejudiced against Black teenagers. The book then moves on to the pre-trial of the officer involved in the death of Jerome. During this section, the police officer is called a liar over and over again. The teacher reiterated this several times, the teacher here, not in the book, reiterated several times that this book was a fiction book. While I agree this book is not factual, as I'll speak of later, it is in fact the story of Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice was shot and killed in Cleveland, Ohio, November 22nd, 2014. Tamir was 12 like Jerome. Tamir was Black like Jerome. Tamir had a toy gun like Jerome. Tamir was in a park like Jerome. Tamir was killed by 2 white police officers like Jerome. And there were statements reported to dispatch by the reporting party that were not given to the officers about the gun being fake in both Tamir and Jerome's stories. This book so closely relates to Tamir's case that the information stated as facts are taken as such by readers. The facts stated in this book are, did you know that Black people are shot by cops 2.5 times more than white people, but that only 13% of the population are Black? It also stated that in 2015, over 1,000 unarmed Black people were killed. Actual facts, according to the Washington Post, in 2015, there was only 95 people killed by police while unarmed, and of those, only 38 were Black. The Washington Post also shows that since 2015, the vast majority of persons shot and killed by police were indeed white. Again, the issue is that the book is portrayed as the Tamir Rice story, a true nonfiction, and it incorporates outright lies to cause false narratives and incite emotional responses of distrust in the police and inaccurate racial prejudices. In a letter from the Fraternal Order of Police, this book convinces the reader, the children of our community, that police officers regularly lie as a routine and as they routinely murder children, while painting officers as racist. Why is this important? Strong relationships and mutual trust between police agencies and communities they serve are critical to maintaining public safety and effective policing. Police officials rely on the cooperation of community members and provide information about the crimes in their neighborhood and work with police to devise solution to crime and disorder problems. Similarly, community members' willingness to trust the police depends on whether they believe the police actions reflect the community values and incorporate the principles of procedural justice and legitimacy. This book does not assist in building mutual trust between the police and the communities we serve. In my 12 years in law enforcement, I have seen a rapid evolving issue with our youth and young adults in our community. More and more frequently upon initial contact with law enforcement, young persons display demeaning attitudes and entitlements. While this by itself does not lead to the use of force, it is frequently a predictor in cases where force is used. Officers from their experience will react and respond in a way to handle subjects that display this persona. Likewise, officers from their experiences will handle subjects differently if the young person shows respect towards law enforcement. This book does not reinforce the trust that is needed for keeping the community, specifically our young person, safe. Again, my goal is not to ban the book. My goal is to make sure teachers are vetting all books through the school board, hopefully, prior to exposing them to our children. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate the service you do.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, West Valley teachers report, PTO report, sorry, PTO.
That's me.
Good.
Okay,
Would you
I'm
like
gonna-
to introduce?
I will,
yourself
for
first?
sure, and I'm gonna apologize, I didn't print this out today, so I'm gonna be looking at my phone because yes. I am Julie Flynn, I am the president of the PTO this year. Katie Pullman was supposed to be here with me, hence why I don't have it printed out, but she had sick kids at home, so she had to leave school early today. So you're stuck with just me today. So, we just wanted to report some of the awesome stuff that we've got going and the ball that's rolling and the backing that parents here and the teachers at the school were hoping to support and are showing us support. So we recently last month did our Boo Bash. We raised over $2,100. And that's with $5 entrance fees per family. So it wasn't like we were, doing it with huge dollar amounts. So broken down, my bad, I didn't actually keep full tallies, but mathematically that equated to 278 families attended our event here at West Valley. We had enough volunteers to run our booths, to help out with games, to just help monitor. The response for we needed help was overflowing. We had 25 8th graders signed up and ran with the help of with Tara Measure. She helped facilitate games. We made a list of them, but we used the school equipment for what she had. The other stuff we supplemented. And then the 8th graders then passed out candy that was donated through the school, and the kids had a great time. Let's see. So then, as a side note, the West Valley sub table did a guess how many are in the jar, and they kept track of the names. And there were 315 kids that did just that one station alone. So we definitely hit a good amount of kids for our first event. We recently, for the parent-teacher conferences, were able to reach out to families and have them donate food and snacks and drinks for the teachers on their 2 late nights here at school. So the first night we fed them a taco bar, and I say we, but it was the families that donated food. We had a taco bar with everything, sour cream and cheese, and they could make it in burrito bowls or in bags of Dorito bags or their own plates. So that was a huge success, along with then the snacks and the drinks that made it through the other 2 days. On the second day, we did
Costco and sub sandwiches. The hoagie, not hoagie, well, the Subways, but then the croissant sandwiches from Costco as well. And the teachers really appreciated it, and it was just a small token that we could do as a thank you for their hard efforts in that. Last month, we purchased a bass clarinet for the middle school band classes, so that has arrived and they have been using it, and Mrs. Hand said she just loves the fullness that it brings the band, having that bass clarinet available to use. We currently are selling gobblegrams. It's just a way for us to try to send a little, like, we're thankful for you to our different students, whether it's a friend sending it to a friend, teachers are sending them to their class, just as we're thankful for you. Parents are doing it as well. So it's just another way to touch the kids in little positive manners. Our upcoming events besides that is we have our Reindeer Lane dates are set for December 11th through the 15th. So we're working through tonight's, we have a meeting tonight. So we'll be working through the final logistics of that and getting the volunteers needed besides the two gals that help run the entire thing. They have been working tirelessly. Now we just look like the heroes coming in to help support with the last minute things that they need. I couldn't do it without the other people around. And then the last couple of things. So we have approved that we are going to buy a new drinking fountain for the gym. It will be a bottle fill station. The ones that we currently have in the gym are I'll call it old school kind, where you have to lean over to do it, but you can't fill a water bottle. Well, you can, but about this much, and then the rest of it just comes right back out. So we have said yes to that. So that is being taken care of by the right people. Getting Phil Jackson's a part of it, getting the right one so it won't burn out, and it will be able to be used by not just all of the students that are in the gym, but the ones that do indoor and outdoor recess, the ones when we have basketball games or volleyball games or other athletic events that people are coming into our facility. It's really hard to be like, oh yeah, you can't get to the one down the middle school because we have it blocked off. So we're excited to do that. And then the last thing is we're gonna host our first family ornament night in December. We're gonna give that a try with some hot cocoa and cookies, and come with your family and make some easy but fun ornaments to have. So that's what we've got going on.
Thank you for doing all that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
That was fun to listen to.
I'm gonna be honest, it was hard to follow the police officers. I'm glad I had fun things. And I should have brought all of you a gobblegram, but I'm now subbing in second grade, so that didn't happen today, so I apologize for that.
Julie, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. It's been really cool seeing
Mhm.
just how much, I mean, the insane amount of effort, like PTO was
Yeah.
going for sure, but like now having that resurgence in bodies
Yeah.
and like all of this cool
And
stuff.
our
like,
families really want to be involved. I mean, like the table sponsorship, kind of like where you're at with donating the phones. It was just trying to get a small little snippet of, we have so many people within just West Valley that have different services or different companies that we're just trying to rebuild our community back up,
I think
our
you
West
got-
Valley families
You
back
got a
up.
good start.
So-
I really think. Yeah. it
So
sounds
yeah,
like-
so we're excited to see what can happen.
Yeah.
So let us know if we can help you guys in any way as well.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
yes.
We will be just talking to you about the levy, I'm sure.
I am sure we will.
Okay, now the West Valley Teachers Association. Molly and
So I just have a few quick things. First of all, introducing the officers this year. A few of us are here. I'm Bonnie McDonald, co-president with Molly Rowe, who's not here tonight. And then Sarah Dankers is the secretary, and Sarah Matias is the treasurer. That's it, right? All right.
Well, and Ashley Takachik.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Ashley Takachik is the vice president. So, a few things, sharing some good things that our members are doing at West Valley, just real quick. We thought we'd throw these in once in a while. Gina Wilson, who's a middle school ELA teacher, she had a guest author, Matt Hardle, who is also a West Valley alum, come in and do a writing workshop with her classes. 4 days with the 8th graders he spent. They did narrative writing. She commented saying that she was impressed, and he was too, by the strong foundational skills for narrative writing that the students had up to this point. So they were able to have this different experience, and they just ran with it. So last week she had a reading celebration. There were lights and candles, and they were able to celebrate each other's writing, snacks too. That always goes over well. And then Crystal Thurman, our middle school counselor, she's the leader of our middle school room reps. And she's organized and set up new this year a student store. So students are able to visit the student store at least once a month during advisory times. And the proceeds, it's very reasonably priced, 50 cents to $2. Students can go buy some things they might need or want, and then the funding, the proceeds go to funding other activities. So it's money raised by the students going back to the students. Hat Day is every other month, and Crystal always finds really worthy causes that we donate that money to, that's raised by students being able to wear hats and pay $1. Darcy Harmon, 6th grade science teacher, new to the 6th grade science position this year. She just got done making balloon cars in her science class. They were learning about the laws of motion. And so they had competitions out in the commons area last week. And then it was really fun during student-led conferences. All the 6th graders wanted to go down to her room and show them off and explain the 3 laws of motion behind that. So a few of the positive things that are going on down in middle school. I have one other thing, and that is the, I guess, a letter of intent, or I guess requesting, I don't know, it's in writing here, I'll read it to you, and I also will give you a copy. I think it's attached in the minutes or the agenda as well.
Okay.
So this is a request to negotiate. The purpose of this letter is to notify the school board that the West Valley Teachers Association intends to negotiate their collective bargaining agreement. We'll begin negotiations in early 2024. We'll be in touch with a list of committee members and possible dates for negotiation. We look forward to working with you. Any questions? All right,
Great, thank you.
Here's the letter for you.
I think we need that.
That would be fun. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Kat. We'll be having the technology director report. And I'll be at every meeting.
So first, I would like to say that, yes, we got all of our phones funded, purchased via the generous donation of Kalispell Creamery, and we really appreciate that. They arrived 4 days after we ordered them, so I have a giant pile in my office, and we're going through getting them out. Of course, I tried to make sure that the model we purchased would be the most current one that would last us the longest. And so those ones come with the mount with the screws in the completely different direction of our current ones. So it's going to be a little bit longer for us to get them out, just because Bill and I have to work together. So that was real fun to discover. But they're testing and they're broadcasting, and so we're very, very thankful for that. And we're hoping before Thanksgiving break, depending on Phil's schedule, that we can get them all out. So maybe Richard's phone will work.
I'm hoping it does.
In the cradle. Oh, that's.
Plug it
It's like coming unplugged.
And then, as a lot of you know, this is a really tough year for Montana, specifically for our compromised emails. They are making the rounds, and you guys have all seen. So we are, with the targeting that they're doing now, it's to collect the email credentials and then get in and send it to other people. And we have multi-factor authentication on our accounts. So with that avenue, we have that extra set of protection, which is really nice. But
it's always something we have to be looking out for because they are coming from legitimate schools in Montana and they're sending links and sending things wanting you to click on stuff and it comes through because it's from a school in Montana. So we just have to, and it's gonna be cycling because they'll collect credentials and then about 3 or 4 weeks, you'll get another bound because they'll grab the ones they got from the last one and try again. So I think it's gonna be probably all year that we're gonna be dealing with this, but so we just have to continue to be super diligent. So I sent out the little kind of update. The only things I really wanted to hit on, is our sub accounts that we've established to allow instruction to continue. Those are being put out. It's nice because when we have to restart devices, we can still get in. It's a new experience, so we still have things that we have to adjust because whenever you implement something new, there's things you haven't thought about. And so like Tanya especially, and I have had to work a lot with figuring out how we combat things that we've come up against. And those do have multi-factor authentication on, which is required by our cybersecurity insurance, but it is one of those things that you realize after the fact how nice it is because over the weekend we have one of our sub credentials posted on an online forum. Google shut the account down, but they tried to get in, but they couldn't because we have multi-factor authentication on. So it is a pain for us to do, but it also is super helpful for when this situation happens. And on our continuing with our security hardening, we've set up a guest network, which the only thing that is allowed on our West Valley network is district owned devices, because then we know exactly if they're up to date, what's going on with them. And we did change our West Valley wireless password just because it was commonly known, and that way we can ensure that it was secure for those devices that are our district owned devices. We will be enforcing multi-factor authentication on additional platforms. We already had a plan in place and got an email about this is happening all over Montana. You need to work on all authenticating, enforcing two-factor authentication, but luckily we're starting that. So we are going to continue to do security hardening on our third party platforms as a way to ensure our data and our students' data is secure. One thing that we really need to look at is establishing a refreshment cycle for our tech, because just like when we had such a huge number of phones come outdated or a huge number of our tech, that's a big giant dip in our budget that we often don't have. And if we can establish a refreshment cycle of how much we can put towards new devices every year, it levels out our budget. And it's something that we have to look for because all of our testing is online. So if there are at a point in time where the testing platform will not allow the test to be taken on devices if it's too cold because of the security factor. We don't have that situation now. We are sitting very nice. Google just pushed out our end of updates for 2 more years, but it doesn't eliminate the problem. It just pushes the problem a little further down the road. So we have the testing component as well as our curriculum component, because more and more curriculum is going online because it's cheaper for the curriculum person or platform, as well as like the information stays constantly up to date. But then the school has to have a way for those students to be accessing it. So, are there any questions? I know it's very fast.
No, I just thank you for taking care of all this. It's rather overwhelming to hold people. I think there's a lot of information there and it's very important. So thank you. Yes. Okay, principal reports. Tina's not here. Do we have a report from the middle school? Oh, or no?
I'll
Go
take it
ahead.
on it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, Alicia was not able to be here today, but I wanted to let you know that she and I have been working closely together to prepare for that time when her baby comes. So she's incredibly organized, has given me so much information. I think she's ensured that it'll be a really smooth transition. And I don't have an update on the baby, just her doctor asked her to work from home today, so we were kind of, we're waiting to hear, but we'll see. And then, I'm just super excited to work with a great team, with the teachers, and then Anna and Molly are going to help out a lot with the principal from the boss, so she's gonna.
Thank you. Thank you for stepping up there.
I'm gonna just talk about a program that I'm hoping to start in January called the Warriors of Wisdom Program, and it's kind of, when you hear like the foster grandparents programs, it's kind of something like that. And so it's going to provide elementary students with role models from the community. They can form meaningful relationships with their, the volunteers, establish consistent schedules. So I have so many students who come to me and they just want to talk. And I would love to have the time to do that with everybody, but you know, sometimes it just isn't possible. So this is going to be a program where those students who really crave that one-on-one attention, need a little bit of extra one-on-one attention, or just somebody to listen to and talk to. That's kind of what this program is going to be for. So we're going to have volunteers either committing either weekly or every other week to come into the school and meet with students. We're going to match them up with students so that they can kind of build those relationships. And then also it's a way for the volunteers in the community to stay active, working with kids. For this, we're going to be partnering with East Haven Baptist Church. One of the main reasons I wanted to bring this to the board was because I wanted full transparency that even though we are going to be working with a church, there's going to be no, you know, faith-based conversations. There's going to be no discussion of religious, anything, beliefs, that sort of thing. The church is willing to promote this program for us. They know that financially we can't do background checks, so they're going to cover background checks for any of the volunteers who want to participate. And then they're going to train volunteers based on the guidelines that we provide for them. So we're going to outline, you know, what our expectations and goals are for the program, and they'll go over that with the volunteers before they start. We're going to work closely with John Dowling, who is one of the pastors there, and Darren Danick, who is the director of operations. And we kind of started working with them through Curly. So again, these are going to be students who are selected by teachers, by me, ones that we think would just really benefit from a consistent role model, somebody that they could kind of count on every week, every other week, that sort of thing. Obviously, we will get parent consent before we do anything with the program. We're going to make sure that parents are on board and understand what the program is all about. The volunteers, like I said, will be from East Haven Baptist Church. The church is going to vet everybody, make sure that they are appropriate for the program, make sure that they kind of understand that we want consistency and that we want these to be individuals who can kind of commit for a school year to work with these students. We're going to try to match students based on interests, those kinds of things. Things that we were thinking they could do together, they could come during lunchtime, play games, read books, go on walks, just spend quality time together. These are some of the documents that we'll provide to the church, just some of the volunteer guidelines, kind of outlining what we expect from people who come into the school. Obviously making sure they're getting checked in, reinforce and support the school's mission, building expectations. Again, no discipline, anything like that. Just some basic guidelines for them to follow. This is another form that we'll give to the church, kind of asking what grade levels they would be comfortable or would like to work with, activities they would like to do so that we can better pair students with the volunteers who are coming in. Just some questions they might have. For example, if
the student that you're meeting with shares something concerning, what would you do? So come to either me or the principal. Those are 2 options. So just some basic questions that they might have. So that would be provided to volunteers. And then I was trying to find a way to kind of promote this to parents without saying that I think your child needs to be in this program. So kind of just promoting it as congratulations. Your child has been recommended to participate in this mentor program that we have at school. Kind of explain it that way and hopefully get some parents to be on board with that. Again, being transparent that we're working with the church, but not any kind of religious affiliation whatsoever with this program. That's what we're hoping to study.
I'm just thinking, if we're limiting this to this church, when you mentioned I have 2 or 3 ex-teacher friends who I think would jump right
Yeah,
on.
and we can have
But
some
they're not gonna wanna go to the East Haven Baptist Church, so is there another aspect of this that are we gonna just start here and then?
I think start here. Yeah, we tried to get it up and rolling last year and it just didn't work for a
Mhm.
couple of the ways that they reached out. And so this was one that just kind of took on. So, it's something that would work, definitely open to other ways. One of the big things was the background checks and being able to make sure that,
Sure.
we could have people in here that
So
should be in here.
would, I guess, what I'm asking is that would the East Haven Baptist Church welcome people that would come in their office and say, hey, I want to be part of this program, I'm not part of your church?
Yeah, I could talk
Will
to
they
them
take
about it.
that name and maybe do the background check on them and could we use them for that?
Yeah, I could talk to them. We're gonna be working a lot over the next few weeks to get things up and going, and so I can always.
I would imagine once this gets started, that you're gonna have this question more, I hope you want more.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, we could always if people are willing to get background checks on their own too, I'm not sure how many would be willing to do that, but that's always. something
Yeah,
that
that's
we
true.
could do.
Can I add something? I'm sorry. So I had actually talked to Alicia about a similar program, that through the PTO to do getting like, male adults, because a lot of times that's, an area where you don't have strong male adults when you look at statistical things. And I had said the PTO would be willing to help support the background checks, because I think that's a very important thing that we have a lot of visitors come into the school. I'm not saying they're bad people, but it's kind of one of those, we want to make sure that we're protecting our children as well. And so if we had that the church didn't want to do, like I'll just say like the PTO would partner with in whatever form to help make sure that it wasn't the background check that was hindering someone that wanted to help. They would still have to go through the training of, what you would like, but we can help cover those background checks.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Will you get copies of all the background checks and like run it through our own screening process?
I'm not sure exactly that part of it. I'd kind of have to talk to, I'm not sure
Oh.
that whole process, but they would do the federal ones, so I don't know. And you would need to do it in their one.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works.
There's a state and
Does it come
federal
with like a
one.
big
And
smiley face?
whoever it goes to, you get that it's been cleared.
Oh. okay.
Like you
So
get
it's
a
like black and white.
report.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
you
okay.
get a report and it either says they're cleared or these are what came up,
Oh,
whether it, depending on what you're running.
Brooke receives those in the office.
Through this program, she get it?
She can't, yeah.
It'd probably be a good idea to get it.
To keep them all in one
Probably
place.
would.
But it is a company they use to do the background check, not the church specifically doing the background check.
Gotcha.
And then, like what Tony was saying,
Yeah.
you go in and you can
Yeah.
see the result.
That sounds like a really good idea. Great.
So you're acting as a coordinator here in that school, right?
What was that?
You're acting as the
Mhm.
coordinator for
Yes.
that WOW program in the
Mhm.
school then?
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's gonna begin in January?
That's the hope and the plan, yeah.
Sure, after winter break or
Yes.
whatever, after the Christmas thing, yeah. That sounds good, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Do we have any other principal report? That's probably gonna suffice. Okay, Richard, would you give the superintendent, report, please?
So, just a couple of highlights. I know I sent something into you guys already, so you might have perused it, but staffing continues to be a huge challenge for us. We're putting together a letter to go out to families just to tell them our situation, why it's happening, and to hopefully recruit people from, the Flathead Valley in general. The more people we have out there helping us recruit, the better, I think. Munch and Mingle was a huge success in K4. We had 70% of our families came to the event, so that was great. About 240 students had a parent show up. Boo Bash was a great success as well. That was really awesome. Feedback on that was pretty incredible. Phil is reporting that we have lots of heating issues in the middle school area. And just around, it's actually taking many hours of his day every day to come in and fight with heaters. Part of it's he's waiting for parts. Some of it is technical stuff he can't do on his own, so he's having to wait for people to come out and work on it, which is pretty rare. He's usually very good at fixing them. We hosted the fire marshal here, and the fire marshal found 0 violations this time, so woot, that's huge. The West Valley store is up and running full steam. It's run through game 1. 10% of everything sold goes back to the school. So when we send that out, feel free to send that out to anybody and everybody, so we can get some West Valley gear, and the school gets a little bit on the other end of it too.
What kind of money do you use for then?
Anything and everything, really. So it just goes into a pot, really, and it's kind of like a Boys and Girls Club, and then we can funnel that money anywhere it should go. I looked with Phil at custodial staffing assignments. So there are industry standards on time it takes to clean classrooms, bathrooms, gyms, lunchrooms, offices, etc. So including mandatory breaks for lunch, not including cleaning the hallways, travel time, trash removal, and prep of their carts. They were actually over scheduled, were extremely understaffed. Their days were coming out at like over 8 hours that they would need to clean their areas. In fact, we had one that was way over that. So we shuffled a few classrooms and a few things around to make it so that it was hopefully a little more even. So that was kind of surprising that we're so overscheduled that way with our 3 that we have.
You know what I heard the Kalispell School District was doing?
No.
Is they have a program with, and I think it's high school students that can actually go help clean like elementary schools and stuff.
Huh. I will look into that.
Yeah, one of my nieces actually does like after hours.
And they go to the elementary schools?
Yeah, like Pearson School. She goes there for 2 hours or something.
Oh,
Is it a volunteer fee?
I'm not sure if they get paid or not, but
well, thank you for the heads up. I'll look into that.
Either way.
And maybe some service learning or something.
yeah, they make us credit for some hours.
Right. Yeah. Cool. The drinking water was tested today, all of our filters and our pumps through the Department of Environmental Quality. We actually had raving reviews. It was pretty surprising. They said that we are far and above the other schools that they test in the care and service of our water system. So congratulations to Phil. That's pretty amazing.
Right.
And then Phil and I looked at the trash removal process. Mark looked, it was a huge savings that we could do there, a 1/3 cost reduction in that. So we'll celebrate that savings and then try to look for some other savings as well. We're gonna nickel and dime this to death, I think, but yeah, Mark's excited about that. And then shout out to Matt Honkoop as well. He's already raised $5,250 for the robotics club.
Cool.
Pretty cool thing. Big part of that donation was from the Gianforte Foundation too. So, but it takes a lot of work to do what he's doing, and they just had a huge event over the weekend. And so if you see him, say good job. It's a really cool program. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go on to the action items, and again, I think that Kat is involved with this, that we have to approve the disposal of some obsolete tech equipment.
Yeah, so on one of our goals was trying to get our obsolete tech off of our network because that's a security risk. And so as we are prioritizing and really being efficient with our resources, we have these devices that are being replaced, and we are using them and selling them, and we've actually been it's been nice because we were able to get some money to purchase some other things. So all of those items on there are end of life, meaning that they don't update anymore. And so all but the iMac can't be resold because I have to remove the hard drive.
So then this is the same program you've been doing.
Yeah, so I had gone through and we gotten an inventory, we kind of exploded so big that there wasn't really a great inventory of all of our tech assets. So last year we made an inventory, but part of the issue was unless they're openly where I can see them, I couldn't find them. So then I went through and locked any of our devices that were not in my inventory. So then some of them are the school boards, and then some of them are ones that teachers had in their classrooms that then I was able to replace with some other ones that were more current. And so, yeah, they're all just these should be the last ones unless somebody finds something else that they haven't used at the start of the year.
How have you been going about selling these?
So we first offer them to staff, and 99% of the time it's gone within a day. And then if I have I had a few that the staff had gone through and nobody else had wanted any, and we open it up to the community, and then I had those sold within another week. So
You said that iMac can't sell?
No, so the iMac is the tech director's old iMac that came end of life the day a security breach happened with that latest update. So I knew it was coming. I had a plan in place. So I pulled it off just because it's a security risk. But because it's my old iMac, there's a lot of student data that even though it's erased, the hard drive procedure, the Chromebooks are different because the Chromebooks don't have really any space to store things. Everything's stored on the cloud. But the iMac is where, with me, I have a lot of stuff that I download, and so the hard drive gets removed and then I smash it with a hammer. But so I smash the hard drive. It's pretty standard procedure, just to protect the data. But you can't, I guess I could be like, here's an iMac that doesn't have a hard drive if anyone wants it, but so that's why none of the PC devices you'll ever see us resell, because we do have to remove the hard drive and then go and fill shop and safety glasses first. But smash it until, yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the disposal of the obsolete tech equipment.
I'll second that.
And there. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passed you that, or I guess I should be in discussion. Anybody want any more discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, pass unanimously. So, Kat, go ahead with that. All right, the next one is consideration and approval of the process, including timing for posting and advertising for a 2024 legally facilitated superintendent search. Now, ordinarily the superintendent, this would be handled by our superintendent, but because that's a little awkward, we are, Mark has been riding this, doing some research, and I think I'll just turn it over to him to tell us what he's found and what our options are here.
All right, so for consideration this evening is really the board giving direction on the process of hiring a new permanent superintendent. There's a range or continuum of processes that we can consider, everything from fully facilitated, where we hire a headhunter or hire a legal firm to go do it, to us doing it completely by ourselves. After consulting with other districts and and legal, and working with Maryland, we think what we'd like to recommend to the board to consider and discuss this evening is a facilitated, where we lead it, but we are supported by a legal firm in specific areas that we're asking for help in. There are two legal entities that we've been talking to. One is MTSBA, and the other is Kaliva Legal. Those are the two firms that we've been looking at for this facilitated process. Facilitated means that they will do either what we agree for them to do. And MTSBA wants to own the entire process. They don't want to compromise. They want to do beginning to end, leading the process because they believe that it has more integrity in the process. After working with Maryland, I think, and talking to individual members on the board, it sounds as though we would like what Kaliva offers, which is they call them a la carte process, where we can choose if we want them to be involved in posting and lead the posting for us. They'll do that. Vetting candidates, doing background checks, assisting, making sure that our interview process doesn't have any bias in it. Making sure that the contract that they would have involvement in the contract does what we want it to do. So for consideration discussion right now, the recommendation that Marilyn and I have is that we go with Kaliva, because it would be cheaper and more flexible than MTSBA. It is a legally facilitated approach where we can then decide how much involvement we want the legal firm to have. I would lead it and have a board member as a point contact for the hiring process. And ultimately, we'll need a interview committee like we've done in the past, and then bring the final decision to the board. So that's what's up for consideration right now.
Thank you, Mark. I think, one thing to bring up is the cost. MTSBA charges $7,000 for their superintendent search, their whole package. They won't break it down, you buy the whole thing. They did, because Stephanie had contacted them 2 or 3 years ago. They had quoted her 55, so they'll go with 55 just because they had that history
last year.
yeah. So that's what we're looking at. The other firm that's willing to be flexible had given us a figure of somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500. They're not as their search wouldn't be as exhaustive, perhaps. But if we could determine how much we want them to do, but if they pretty much guaranteed us that it wouldn't go over 2,500, because Mark told them essentially what we're, we just want to have things covered that need to be, and they said they could do it for 2,500.
Yeah, I called
So
back today. I talked to Elizabeth Kaliva, and she asked her to forward more information. Marilyn and I started this on Thursday, so we've been going as quick as we could and getting, but she was unable to give me anything in writing. It's all been verbal quotes on those amounts that Marilyn
which is
just
what
talked
we
about.
have from MTSBA too. I
Yeah.
guess the quote is
There's
in
no
the
contract.
email.
Yeah, they
The
don't have
quote's in
most
the
contract.
email, but yeah.
Do they bill it just on an hourly basis, of a rough estimate, is that what they're doing, or?
Kind of, their Kaliva, it depends what services they can go. I've seen billing rates as high as $475 an hour. So clearly, we're gonna get more than, what would that end up being, 4 hours, right? So there's more there. This is a service they provide. It looks as though it's lower than their straight billing rate, is what it looks like, what I've heard so far.
And isn't it something, Mark, that she said they do this? This is something that they do quite often for a school board.
Very
This
much
is
so,
a-
yeah.
It's not a new idea to them. This is something that they're used to working with school boards like ourselves that just want help with the legal end of it. And so
Yeah,
they know what to expect, I think, pretty much.
MTSBA used to do an a la carte approach, and they decided not to offer that anymore. And I think that's really more what we've been talking about doing here.
Right. rather than have some, pay somebody to put up a fancy website, when you, and, or, beat the bushes, for, we just didn't feel that we needed the whole package that NTSBA offered. But that, I mean, that's just when Mark and I are visiting about it. I mean, it's up to the board to decide what we want to do. And also, we still need to decide the timeline. We talked about before having something in place by the end of the year, having applications in or resumes in by the end of the year, so that we could hopefully have a new superintendent in place by the end of January at the latest. And I don't know how everybody still feels about that.
Are you saying that the new superintendent would start at the end of January, or we just know who it was?
That's right. We know who it was. Yeah. No, because Richard's contract is until June. That's secured. But this would be going forward after the June. When his contract is done in June, this would take over in June.
So do you know legally, is there like a certain timeline that they have it open for? And is there like a certain amount of candidates we have to get?
The candidates you get are the candidates you get. I think there's some accepted timeframes. I don't know what those are, and that's part of the reason we would want legal counsel rather than put it up for a time that is not adequate and have issues to deal with. They handle that. Believe it, for example, has their own places where they post this, and it would go out outside of Montana as well. So it would be a comprehensive search, and so you make sure that you've got all available candidates who are interested.
Did she mention like a timeline of what they would need for the process or anything?
No, didn't do that. They're willing to, really, what we would do is we'd say, yeah, we would like to work with you based on your flexibility and the process that you offer, the prices that we've talked about, and then we go off and look. We can look at the end of January. January, that might be kind of fast, but we could say our desire is to get somebody in as quickly as possible, and then work, and then I can come back with and let you guys know what that agreement would be.
I'd like to begin the process as soon as we could. And I think everybody feels that way here. Why wait on this? Let's get the word out, whatever it takes, as soon as we can. And then do it for whatever amount of time.
Well, this is kind of the start of the dominoes too. Once we solidify this position, and we gotta kind of solidify the other positions underneath, so it would be good to get it done.
That's right. That's one of the reasons why we
Locked in early, and so we can focus on the other pieces. I just wonder, from like the specific items that we're looking for the search. I mean, is that, just trying to kind of figure out what exactly that we would be in that range paying for specifically, or is that just?
I was hoping we were kind of rushing it because I called her at noon to follow up. We had a conversation on Friday when she was driving, and then I said, I'll let you know where we are. And after talking with Marilyn this morning, I called. I was hoping to have sort of that a la carte menu to say, hey, how much, and that's what we're waiting. Unfortunately, I don't have that at this time. So, but they are the flexible of the two legal firms. So if we'd like to pursue that further, the recommendation is that we take a look at them and then look at that list of options.
Do we know what protocol, like other similar sized districts are following for hiring and recruiting a superintendent, and what the outcomes are on that?
That's a good question. When I asked around, it really depends on what your starting point is and what your objectives are. A lot of schools will just start and hand over the process completely. So it's and they tend to take more time. So if we want to go a little quicker and we have some candidates in mind, then that tends to point to this recommendation that we're talking about right now.
I mean, I definitely agree that we want to have the dominoes in place. I hesitate to rush too quickly. Like what do we have in place right now to even begin? Like, do we have like recruiting packages or information, or I guess what is that whole process? Like, did they discuss some of what they would look for or recommend, or?
They'd help us formulate a job description and then recommend where to post for that. And then we can say, do we want it to sit out longer or shorter? And then it's also a function of how many applicants you get, whether we're happy with what we see after a certain time frame.
So could we maybe like make a motion that we want to go with Kaleva's office
That would get us
up to
going.
like $2,500? Hopefully that gets us the whole process. And then if it's beyond that, it comes back to the board to approve if it's beyond that amount.
Seems reasonable. I just try to utilize maybe some of the stuff that we, if you can do the pick and choose, because we have a few things that are relatively recent, like our last superintendent's, job description, like maybe we can just brush that up and
Yeah, absolutely.
from a contract perspective, we have the interim superintendent contract, that I think is
I think
90%, 98% of what
the first year contract.
the first year contract would be. So I think there's a lot of things that maybe we can pick out there just to try to manage that cost down as, low as possible.
Absolutely. It would be super helpful to get, if we want to get going now, to do something like Stephanie's talking about, authorize coming up with a plan, or authorize up to $2,500 and
Okay.
say what we can get.
So yeah, so I'll make that motion that we're gonna move forward with Kaleva's office up to 2,500. Hopefully it's less than that to get kind of the whole package done using what we kind of already have in place too. And hopefully we can get all the resumes by the end of the year so we can schedule interviews and make a decision by the end of January.
Well, I wonder if we should push the revenue out a little bit, just with the holidays and stuff. I don't really know, it just seems like December's not a good time to ask for resumes. But maybe we'd be
We push it
cutting
like
into our time too
mid-January.
much, yeah. Or maybe in mid-January or something.
Maybe did close in mid-January, you can still interview and select by the end of January.
Okay, so change it till January 15th, mid-January for resumes.
That's a mid-
See how that works.
January.
And then that gives us 2 weeks to interview.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, move to approve the proposal for up to $2,500 for the process, targeting resumes by mid-January. With interviews to follow.
So let that information there.
And that's enough, I think, if you want, we can see what happens after that and try and target getting the right person in the job.
Well,
So that as soon as
we
possible.
discussed a while ago about, redoing that job description, the evaluation, and I've gathered stuff. But A, October got away from me and I was sicker than a dog for half of it, but then B, wanted to give Richard some time to kind of figure out what is the superintendent role. So I mean, if that's something that we wanna brush up or touch on, because I think the one thing that we discussed back in August was that the job description really doesn't reflect the team leadership component, addressing the climate, the culture, the collaboration that we were kind of hoping to see in the role of superintendent. Is that something that we want to still try to build in there, or?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think you were gonna head that and bring it to the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
So before, I'm just thinking, talking to these people, we're saying, okay, get that out as soon as you can. Well, they're gonna say, okay, where's the job description they have? We just didn't see your job description has had to pay them to make one for us. That isn't gonna work too good. Would you have that?
I can have it before Thanksgiving break.
That would be good. Okay, yeah. Right.
The only thing other I was looking at, so January 12th is a Friday. Oh, our second board, I was thinking our meeting was gonna be on the 15th. I was just wondering if we could try to tie it into that January board meeting. But we're the second Monday, right?
Yeah, she's at the 9th or the 8th, something like the 8th.
Yes, it is the 8th.
Yeah,
I don't know, that's the only thing I was thinking, if you had resumes by that. Would that be helpful at all?
I honestly,
we can see what we have,
Okay.
sometimes you got two to review something, so
Okay.
we learned a lot for the last one, as I understand it, so.
think the future of the board or the school probably
Yeah.
would be worth a special meeting, we had to have it, but
We got a work session, looks like on the 25th,
yeah.
so we can change that work session, or we can do whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
You need me to restate that motion, or you got it?
Let me try it back. So I think what we got is we
The
moved
date
to,
could be the 12th instead of 15th, that would make sense.
Well, I was thinking our board meeting was on the 15th, but it's actually not, it's on the 8th.
So maybe that's
Yeah,
not
so I don't know
much
that it matters.
so, let's see here, Steph, I've got approved the proposal for a legally facilitated process for up to $2,500, with resumes, targeting receive and review resumes by mid-January with interviews to follow. And filling the position, I'm saying early spring. Do you want to be more specific than that?
I think that's a good idea.
Let's go with early spring, and the earlier the better, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think some of this will get worked out in the next couple weeks as we get going.
But we can only start the process.
We can,
Yeah, this gets it moving in that
we can
direction.
expedite it, I mean, early spring, it could be February.
And is Marilyn my contact? Is that how we want to do that?
Okay, what do you think about that? Are you guys comfortable with Mark? And I working on this, or do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff. Yeah.
Comfortable with Laurel and all that.
I feel the same way. I'm like, I love it.
The notes will record, the notes will record will say that Jeff is not the contact. That's not-
Anyone but.
Well, I think, but Jeff is our contract man, so if when we get looking at contracts, we may call you in.
Well,
We may call you in.
I think that works well, because if I have Marilyn to work with on, hey, we're doing this, and she can then coordinate, and say, hey, it's contract time, we talk to Jeff. If it's job description time, we'll talk to
when
Laurel.
it's, when it's time for us to get Richard's resume, I can go pull it out of this drawer.
Well, I think my time's a little more flexible, and it makes it easier for Mark. He could call me and say, like he does once in a while, we need to sign this, and I could say, okay, give me a few minutes, I'll be right there. Whereas you guys, that's possible. So, okay, we'll work together on it with the idea that then I make a few phone calls. Yeah, sounds good.
That's a step motion.
That's a motion.
Yeah, so we.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
Quick question, what, do you know when they're gonna try to push all this out by?
They don't even know they're under contract yet,
Okay.
so that we shopped until today.
We'll have to have, before they can push it out, we'll have to have, if Laura's gonna do an updated job description, we can't do anything until that's finished.
Right.
I mean, we can secure the lawyers, but they can't make any kind of an outreach to the community until we have a legitimate job description, right? Because that's gonna be what their first question is, the job description, so. We'll get, that'll be dependent upon when that comes in. And then you'd email that to everybody, and then we kind of take a look at it, and then,
Yeah.
and then.
It's a final thing, do we want, and this is me being extra, but do we want something like School District 5 has with their little, like, the information about the school district, job description, the community, general response, like it's pretty, basically, and just more informational than, like, do we want to have something like that?
Are you gonna create it?
I can. Canva is an amazing thing, but I mean, it's that or we pay somebody or we don't have anything.
We're not paying anybody.
Yeah.
To do that, so.
So,
Because that's part of the $7,000 that, or the $5,500 that NTSBA wants, so they would, because you better believe School District 5 paid somebody.
right.
$8
Are we, if we are interested in this, I can try to have it ready before
Could you do
Thanksgiving
it
break.
in kind of an abbreviated form? I don't think it
Oh, yeah.
needs to be.
I mean, it'll be
quite-
somewhat plagiaristic in terms of
Yeah,
visual outcome, but and contents, but I think it would help us kind of have something slightly more well-rounded and answer maybe questions about the school district.
Show the schools, the mountains. and-
Yeah, right. Only the pretty things.
I'd say the job description is probably most important.
Mhm.
for-
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about having a promo?
I mean, if you wanna make something, I think it'd be a good addition,
Okay.
but I mean, we're asking a lot from you too.
Mhm.
like, so.
I don't want that to hold up the job
Hold
description.
up the process.
No, job description will be priority number one. And honestly flow into everything else. And job description is not going to have revolutionary changes, truly, like,
I think we already kind of have it. It's just
Yeah.
gonna be.
it's just gonna be tweaking.
Sure,
so,
that'd be good.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now, so any more discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, passed unanimous. We're on our way. Information items, the following DPAs were interviewed. These are things we just have to sign to keep that computers legit, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Montana law, we have to have a data privacy agreement in place with any vendor that stores or collects student data, like personal identifiable information, name, email. So that's been a work in progress, but we're.
Okay, so we just, yeah, we've already approved them, they have to be approved, that's just an information item. Okay, the 90-day evaluation of interim superintendent growth will be conducted and presented in a closed session at the end of the December board meeting. Okay, this is something that we talked about. Because we'd like to have this evaluation in place before whatever is gonna happen with the superintendent search begins to ensue. So, and that was the other thing, Laura, we talked about maybe having a revised evaluation, but that's something that, you could, are you still working on that? Or should we just use the one we've got and just use it for now?
No, I can get us a hybrid if you want. I mean, it's whatever we want to approve, but I can have that before the next work session so that it's ready to go for.
Well, we have to have it way before it because people have to, okay, it doesn't have to go this way, but how it usually goes with evaluations is it's the evaluation form is sent out to all the school board members, then they take and fill it out, and then they get it to me on my own private address. And then I take how it's done before. Now, this doesn't have to be the way it is, but then I take those and usually if there's number system for each of the questions, then I do a composite of all those that came into me. Then in the end, there's a space for a narrative. So then what I do is copy all those narratives down. And then so when we go into the evaluation session, which would be a closed session probably after that meeting, then everybody'd have that in front of them. They'd have the composite basically of what everybody felt. That's how it's been done before. Now, if we want to do it that way, I'm okay with it. As long as I get it 2-3 days ahead of the meeting, if everybody gets their evaluation to me, I can get it, ready to go for the evaluation. So, okay, so what we need to do now is get the new evaluation done, so it can get out to all of us. And then what's,
So if it was done by the next work session, not board meeting, but work session,
yeah,
that would give us a 2-week lead
that would,
prior to, or is that sufficient time, or do we?
no, I think that's good. So our next work session is the 30th, and that one's gonna be strictly the levy, right?
Yes, that's a full meeting.
Yes, I think Cindy is gonna be here at that one too. Yeah.
We're finishing up the presentation tomorrow.
So that's about time we begin that levy discussion. So that'll be on the 30th, but if we have that in place, we could have those evaluations at that time. And then everybody will be expected to get that back to me by the meeting. The next meeting is the 11th. So that will give people a week to do those evaluations. That should be long enough. What do you think? You okay with that? All right, and then they can get that back to me and I'll compile them. And we'll be on board to do the evaluation in closed session, probably after that December board meeting, the 11th. Right, anybody else have anything about that? Okay, it's just not an action item, just an information item. And then the next one is the Thursday, 11:30 trustees working session, when it'll be at 7 a.m. again in the library, will be dedicated to a presentation on the 2024 election and levy. So that's just an information item. Anybody got anything else they want to add?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. And it's 5:30.
I know, it feels really late, but it's gonna got dark.
That was